What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of See It Like Strev. We got a very special guest on today. I feel like this one's been a long time coming. You've probably been seeing a lot of his social media, Instagram, TikTok. You may know him as Zaki Sports. Zach McDonald, welcome onto the show, buddy.
What's up, Strev? I'm so excited, man. We were just saying, like, we were about to like really start getting into it before this even kicked off. We had to stop our conversation to like get it recording because we're just like vibrating on the same frequency.
Dude, literally, we were just talking about all the need for content in the CFL. And like, it's funny, dude, you'll post something and I'm like, damn, I wish I would have thought of that. That was such a good idea. So it's cool to see that.
Same.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. So I want to just kind of introduce you to people because honestly, I didn't really know you until you started doing some CFL content. And I'm like, again, this is awesome that somebody else is trying to bring exposure to the league. So, who are you, man? How did you get to start doing CFL content?
Well, that's a really interesting question because the thing is, like, I'm kind of not anyone. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Stop it. Come on.
In this sense, like, I think like what makes me perfect for the CFL is like, I'm just kind of getting it out the mud here, like the CFL, it's a lot of stories of like guys that didn't have connections, guys that like didn't have the politic game put out and all of that kind of stuff. And that's the same for me. I was a stand-up comedian for a long time in my early 20s. And I did a bunch of stuff. I did some like motivational speaking. I talked a lot about, I'm like a real Hamilton guy. Like I grew up, gritty, like grew up in public housing. One of my parents dealt with like addiction and mental health issues. And I made a whole comedy show about that and kind of try to give people some positivity in their life. And I was doing that for a while and it was going great. But I realized that in stand-up, there's not a ton of money to be made, especially in Canada. And I was kind of tired of talking about my story. I wanted to talk about other people's stories. So when I was like 30, I went back to journalism school. And this is where I said, it's like no connections, no nothing. Like I was working part-time at Starbucks to afford to go to journalism school. And I got into the score. I started on the lowest rung of the totem pole and I showed them some stuff that I made on my own time. Eventually they put me on camera. So now I'm a content creator for the score. I do a podcast called No Timeouts during the NFL season. I make a show called Extremely Online. It's like funny stories from the internet each week. So I started building my name a little bit up through there. And in Canada, the score is like a huge brand. It's a huge opportunity to be on a platform like that. And then I think just like you, I kind of saw that nobody was talking about the CFL. Nobody was exploring all these like incredible stories. And I am a diehard, lifelong CFL fan, had season tickets my whole life. My middle name is Garney after Garney Henley, the greatest Hamilton Tiger Cat of all time. So it's like, that's how much love I have for the league. So I started making these CFL videos and like, really, it's been amazing how much the people have connected with it and the comments that I'm getting from people and how stoked players are around the league. I was on the sidelines for the Ticats game. Bo Levi Mitchell's dapping me up saying thank you for the content. So it's been really sick.
Dude, a lot to unpack there, but that's a heck of a journey. And like, I love the fact that you view yourself as similar to the CFL players, like not a lot of first round picks out there, not a lot of 5-star guys, just guys getting it out the mud. And I feel like dudes can totally relate to that. And the thing with the CFL that I've always loved is the players are super accessible. Like in the NFL, you're not going to go on the sideline and have the starting quarterback come up and dap you up because you're a content creator. But one of the best quarterbacks in the league recognizes you, daps you up. I saw you and Trevor Harris been going back and forth, man. I always just have loved how accessible the players are to fans and people covering the league.
Yeah, and I think like obviously they're stoked to have people talk about the league. I think you've been in a player in the league. It's like not only do you know what great athletes these guys are, you know how many incredible stories there are in the CFL that people just literally have no idea that they're happening. So I think the fact that the players are seeing somebody tell these stories that are really valuable to people about underdogs, about people that are getting out the mud, it just like got everybody excited.
No, 100%, man. And there's been a need for it because as I was in the league, again, there's nobody doing creative content from a positive light. And, traditional media is always somewhat negative. As I move into that world, I'm starting to see that, man, there's just a ton of negativity. And so having my perspective of being in the league, it's like, how can I bring some positivity? How can I bring a quarterback's perspective and start to, back up what the players might be seeing out there? Because, for example, you look at Ottawa this year, right? They're sitting at 0-9. Everyone keeps asking, when are they going to bench Jake Maier? When are they going to bench Jake Maier? I'm the guy being like, dude, Jake Maier's not doing that bad. Like, He's not playing 0-9 ball, but there's not enough guys that actually know what's going on around the league to give formulated opinions. And that's where I just saw, this white space, if you will, of like, someone needs to get in here and fill this. And so it's really cool to see like you, someone who hasn't played in the league, but just been a fan for a really long time creating content. And then myself, like we both have a very unique perspective, but I think it brings a lot of value to what the league is doing and how they're trying to grow. Because if you want to engage younger fan bases, where are young people, dude? They're on social media. That's 100%. How you get people. You get them engaged 100%. In stories. You get them engaged in teams and players, and then they might show up to a game. And that's kind of just always been my hypothesis. And it seems like players and people associated with the league have just been super excited about.
And guess what young people don't care about too? They don't care about TV ratings and like revenue and like all this kind of stuff. And you hear all this, like every time people start talking about the CFL, like you said, on these traditional platforms, it gets into all of this stuff that like I don't care about. Like I just don't care about any of that. I know I grew up a real CFL fan, and like if you go to Hamilton Stadium on a Friday night and you witness that atmosphere and what's going on there, it's the most fun place in the world to be. If you watch the games on TV, they're the most fun games to watch. And like all of this other stuff that people bring up, it's just not relevant to anything anybody's actually thinking about.
100%, man. How was the atmosphere at Hamilton the other night? Like I've always felt like that was kind of an underrated atmosphere. They always seem to get decent turnouts. Like I always felt like it was a little bit underrated.
100%. One thing people don't realize about Hamilton, sometimes they'll look into the stands and they'll see some empty seats. Those are fake empty seats because it is like a party for the whole city. So if you go into the concourse of like Hamilton Stadium during the game, there's like an extra like 5,000 people that are just like getting drunk. They're dancing. They're having a party. And that's always what the environment at Hamilton Stadium is. Like you're always going to find some of your boys there. You're always going to find a group of people that you know. Everybody is going to be getting drunk, having fun. Me too. And there's always like, also my favorite thing about Hamilton, there's a lot of like older women that are huge Ticats fans, which
That's
is like
your favorite thing, huh? There
That's
you go. Yeah. All right, buddy. All right, relax.
Keep it PG for a See It Like Strev. We had these two ladies right in front of us, and they're like, they got face paint on, they've got the pom-poms out. It's like it like spans every generation. It's the best thing.
You hit on something that is near and dear to me too, because part of the battle that I'm fighting is, okay, how can the league grow? How do you not only engage a younger fan base through social media and content, but how do you get people to games? And I think what you said about Hamilton games is the biggest thing that teams are fighting right now as to how do you make the game day atmosphere fun for people? You have to incentivize in ways outside of just the on the field product, because people can sit at home with a very comfortable seat and watch the game. And I think that the one team that I know very well is Winnipeg. Obviously, they've had a great product on the field, but if you go to that game, there's so many young people just hanging out. They sell standing room only tickets, and it's like a bunch of kids that are 18 to 22 years old just hanging out, mingling around. And I think that that's one of the best things that they've done to make the game day atmosphere great. And I'd love to see more teams start to implement that. I think it'd be an interesting way to try to get people to games is like, I saw Toronto was doing the $40 all you can eat up in the upper deck. And, interesting like things like that where you get people out to a game, they have a great experience. I think they're way more likely to come back.
100%. And I know like I've got a bunch of friends who are not necessarily football fans, but will always be down to go to a Ticats game with me because they know it's just going to be a party. It's going to be a good time. You're going to see a bunch of people you know. It is the most affordable ticket that you can get in sports right now. Like you could go to a Ticats game for $20-$25 if you want to sit in the nosebleeds, and then you could go walk around wherever you want and have a great time. It's like it's a unreal pregame if you want to go out afterwards. It's an unreal, Friday night you want to blow off some steam. I saw like old buddies from high school. I think it's the most underrated thing you can do is actually go to a game.
Dude, I got to tell you a story about Hamilton, my first experience there. So it was my second away game ever in the CFL. It's my first year. And we're staying downtown I can't remember what hotel it was, but there was like a mall underneath
the Sheridan.
The hotel. It must have been the Sheridan. Okay.
It was the Sheridan. You got Jackson Square underneath.
Okay, Jackson Square. So me and my buddy, Drew Wolotarski, played in the league for, 10 years, whatever. One of my good friends, we're like, all right, dude, day of the game, like, let's just go for a walk down through the mall and just see what's going on. Dude, I have never seen so many motorized wheelchairs in my life, man. And everyone's just like chirping me like, you bombers, you guys suck. You're going down today. I'm like, I'm actually scared. Like, there's a lady with a snake around her neck, and she's like, "You want to pet my snake?" I'm like, dude, we gotta go back to the room, man. This is freaking me out. So that's my first Hamilton experience.
No, that is the premier Hamilton experience. That's what makes it so great. Like, sometimes I make these videos about like hating the Argos, and it's like people are laughing and stuff like that. I want you to know, like, in the city, that is real. Like, these people, like, they're not like, "Oh, cool, that's Chris Streveler, we like him." They're like, "We want you to fail tonight." Like, we got a deep-seated hate in our heart for anything that's not the Ticats. And it is the old ladies. You're bringing them up too, Strev. All right. So you're not innocent in this game either. With the snake around the neck, it's like, it's happening.
Dude, it's a gritty place, man. But I love the gritty place. Like, Winnipeg's pretty gritty too. Like, Saskatchewan, pretty gritty. Those are the best fan bases, man. Like, the polished up cities, they don't even, Toronto's got 5 million people. They're struggling to get 20,000. I'd love to see that change, but man, totally. These cities that are through and through, they continue to show up and support the teams, man. It's awesome. I want to ask you about Hamilton and their situation right now, because dude, the quarterback situation has been insane there. Like, just crazy. Such a revolving door. I was kind of standing on the table a couple weeks ago after they moved away from Trey Ford and went to Harrison Frost. I was kind of confused by the move because like it just felt early, right? Like, he had that game against Toronto where he played good, then Montreal obviously struggled, and then you're halfway through the game in Calgary and you pull him, and then he goes in last week and goes and wins the game. So what are your thoughts on that whole thing? Because I know you follow that team really closely, and it's just been such a roller coaster. I'm curious what you think about what's going on there.
I think it's tough. I think, like, I mean, it's one of those situations where, like, you know, that one season where the Colts had Peyton Manning and then he gets hurt and then they bring in like Jim Sorgi, and it's like, well, what was your plan if Peyton Manning gets hurt? It's like, our plan was like, we're screwed. Like, it doesn't matter what we do. And I think the Ticats kind of had that situation going in where it's like, hey, we can win a Grey Cup with Bo Levi, and if he gets hurt, like, we probably weren't going to win a Grey Cup anyway. So I think now you have a situation where, especially with the way that Milanovic coaches, like, he's scrambling a little bit. I think he gets a little bit in his head. There's certain things that he doesn't like obviously turnovers. So if Trey comes in and starts having turnovers, he's not going to want to see that happen. I'm like, I liked the way that Harrison Frost has played in the past 2 games, as far as like, if you have guys like, the problem with Trey is, okay, we have Keandre, we have Kenny Lawler, we have Carrick Wheatfall. These are really dynamic players, and they just simply need to be involved in the game for us to win. So Trey can't necessarily get those guys as involved as he wants to. He's obviously going to make huge plays, but it's not like I'm going to hit Kenny Lawler every time. I'm going to hit like Keandre on 2nd and long every single time. So you add Harrison Frost coming in and making those plays, but then you miss out on the running, the electric plays, the mobility. So kind of my question for you actually is like, could you do both? Like, does that work in a locker room? Does that work for the guys on the field? Is there a way that you could get both of the guys in there playing at the same time?
I think so. I think back to when we won the Grey Cup in 2019. I mean, we had basically a full 2-quarterback system rolling. I mean, I played a very good amount in that playoff run where Zach was starting and played a role. And, you know, I like to think that was a big reason in us getting it done. And so I do think that there's a world where that could happen. Like, the thing that's always confused me about that situation is I love Dolegala. You know, we played in Winnipeg together, but like, why Trey Ford is not their wedge guy, and then you build a package off of that? Like, that's the lowest hanging fruit. And what I said after Bo went down was like, okay, if Doley's going to start, I understand that decision, because the jump from Bo Levi to Trey Ford is a very different offense. So totally. You go start Dolegala, see what happens. In that time, you start to work Trey Ford into your offense and essentially install a second offense. So that way, when he goes in, he has plays that are crafted for him. So I think 100%. The easiest way to do that would be, hey, go let him do a wedge. Okay, leave him in for a first down. Let's go zone read. Let's go RPO. Let's go bootleg, and just start to put these plays in, because then you get to the point where, okay, Doley's not the guy you figure out. Okay, now Trey Ford's playing, and you are still trying to run the Bo Levi offense. I think we can all agree that to get the best out of Trey Ford, you have to utilize his strengths and change the offense. I believe in Trey Ford in terms of his ability to get the ball down the field, but to access that, you have to get teams to respect his running ability. There has to be designed runs, and you have to get teams to come up in the box, because if that happens, he's good enough to go throw a one-on-one ball to Kenny Lawler. He's 100%. Good on. I mean, that receiving core is absolutely loaded. I thought before that, when the season began, it was one of the best receiving cores in the league. So I just think that there's a world where that can be very successful, but from a coaching standpoint, you have to be willing to kind of move off of where you started and build this secondary offense around Tre Ford.
That's what I've never understood. Like, I asked the question on Twitter, like, why isn't Tre Ford the wedge guy for the Ticats? And you get a lot of these people telling you like, oh, he can't do it, or he doesn't have the height or anything like that. And it's like, that's always seemed absolutely ridiculous to me. The guy runs like a 4.4. So it's like, I'm sure he could figure out. So this was actually my big question that I wanted to ask you was like, if you had to break it down percentage wise, what percentage of the wedge play is skill or size or natural athletic ability? And like, what percent of it is just grit? Like, you know what I mean? Like, can you will your way into being a great wedge guy by just wanting it bad enough?
I would say it's 50% grit, 50% technique, right? Like,
yeah,
there is definitely a grit aspect. Like, you have to want it. You have to love it. I did an interview with Tommy Stevens a couple weeks ago. You want to talk to a guy who absolutely loves the wedge. That guy loves it. So there's a reason why he's being successful, but there's also a skill component with, okay, understanding, okay, how am I going to hit this dent? Where do I need to get to? Where's my landmark? You know, and the offensive line has to be fully bought into it as well. Like, they've got to be really excited about running that too. So, you know, maybe it's even a higher component of grit.
If you've got the speed that Tre Ford has, he should be able to do that really effectively, right?
Dude, size doesn't, I wouldn't say size matters. Like, I mean, I'm 6'2". Tre Ford's the same size as me. I was one of the best wedge guys in the league. Like, there's no reason that he can't do it. And I think, like, one thing that I've been standing on the table for too, as it pertains to the wedge, is on 2nd and 1, let's try to go get an explosive. Like, dude, put Tre Ford in the game and let's run outside. Worst case scenario, he just gets it up in and gets 1 yard, but he might be able to break that thing to the house and steal an explosive for your team. I think that that's underutilized.
You're also seeing now they do the kind of teams are doing the thing where they're using the waggle like behind the quarterback to come up to like the edge of the thing. So I'm like, bam, that's an option play right there, because you've set it up all year that this guy is like running outside. So you hit Tre on like an outside run, and then you have this guy and you're running an option on 2nd and 1 that it's like, hey, if it's not there, then Tre just falls forward. Bam, you're still at worst 3rd and 1. Best case, he either breaks it free or he sends it to the guy that's right behind him and you have a touchdown.
I agree. And I think the biggest issue is just time. You know, coaches, it takes time to game plan that. It has to be a point of emphasis. And if it's not a point of emphasis for you, it's just, you're not going to get it in. But you see, I mean, I think the wedge can be a weapon. You look at what Sask's doing. They're winning games off of their wedge package with Tommy Stevens. And I think more teams should, you know, implement that into their offense. But, you know, here we are just doing media. We're not the coaches, so we're not making the big bucks.
It didn't take long for this to turn into just a wedge podcast. Like, that's what we were all, both of us we just wanted to do a wedge podcast.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, great having you on, man. Hey, I want to talk about a couple more of these matchups coming up this weekend, man, because there's actually some pretty interesting games. I think the game that I'm most interested is the Sask and BC game, because I feel like this happens every year where BC just starts to get hot. Like, they start out slow and then they just get hot. I don't know. I'm curious about that game and what you are seeing from those two teams and how you think that game might go this weekend.
Yeah, I feel the same way about BC. I mean, I think in the CFL, like, obviously, you know this, like, it's such a long season that, like, weirdly, I feel like sometimes getting out to too hot of a start is almost a disadvantage, because you have to maintain that for 21 weeks, and that just feels borderline impossible. So a lot of times the team that wins the Grey Cup is the team that gets hot at the end of the season, and you know you're going to be able to make the playoffs. So BC looks like that team right now. Even before Nathan Rourke came back, their defense started to like get moving in the right direction, and they're playing a lot better now. And then you see the emergence of Xander Horvath, him and Tice, like, borderline who's going to be the big breakout guy of the year. And Xander Horvath, like, as good as James Butler is, as much as they're paying him, Xander Horvath's just a better running back than he is, to be completely frank right now. So now that they have that going, and you have that really dynamic guy, Keon Hatcher had that really bad game 2 weeks ago where he had some crazy drops. And then last week, it seems like now he's getting back in his rhythm. Nathan's getting back in his rhythm. So you look at all of that stuff going at the same time. It's like a perfect storm for BC. Meanwhile, Sask is like, not to their own fault, kind of trending in the opposite direction, where it's like you lose KSB and you lose Samuel Emelis. It's impossible to, as good as the guys are playing, Keyshawn's great, and it's just impossible to recreate that. So I do think, like, I would pick BC going into that, and I think they're the favorite right now too.
Yeah, I just feel like when I watch BC with Nathan Rourke getting back out there, there's just a pep in their step, man. There's a little bit of spark that he gives that team. And like that throw that he had rolling out to the right off the RPO last week, that was an absolute dime. And he can just make some throws like that are special. And it really just elevates the entire group on offense and defense. Like I feel like having your leader back makes everyone elevate and play better.
And he's got that ability to like scramble and turn second and long into a first down really, really quickly, which is like the biggest backbreaking thing that I think that he does. So I think like a lot of people coming to the season would have said BC was a Grey Cup favorite and then they were off it. I think it's not going to be long before people are on it again, where it's like BC can definitely win the Grey Cup this year.
Yeah. And the West is so interesting, man. Like you've obviously got Sask and Edmonton at the top, but then like Winnipeg is sitting at 5-4. They're about to go play Edmonton. Calgary, Calgary is just so frustrating and confusing because they're better than 4-6. They've lost every single game inside of 3 minutes or overtime. They lose those 2 tough ones to Montreal. It's just like I look at Calgary and
they get 4 interceptions and they lost to Toronto. You cannot lose a game where you have 4 picks.
That was the game that made me flip-flop on Calgary because I'm like, you absolutely, you cannot lose a game where you take the ball away 4 times. But again, 3rd and 1 in that game came to...
What is it like? What, in your opinion, is wrong with them? Because from my perspective, honestly, I can't figure out what's wrong with them. You got Dedrick Mills is playing great football. Vernon Adams is like been virtually perfect. Like, how do they lose these games?
They're just not putting together a full 3-phase football game. The one game that they did, they go into Winnipeg and drop 52 on Winnipeg. And it's like, whoa, this might be the best team in the league right now. And then they go do that against Toronto. And it's like, it's frustrating. So if they put it all together and you get Tyreek McAllister going in the run in the return game, you can get an explosive there, start incorporating him in the offense the way that they've started to do. Their defense has obviously shown the ability to take the ball away. They had 4 interceptions against Winnipeg as well. And then Vernon Adams, if he simply just takes care of the ball, they're going to be a very legit team. They just got to put it all together. And it's frustrating when it's not put all together because then you go lose to Toronto, but then you drop 52 on Winnipeg. So, I'm interested to see how that plays out with these last spots in the West, because looking at the East, it's going to be a crossover this year.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where this 100%. And that's,
Yeah, we both agree on that. Like the bottom of the West is like they're just stronger than the Ticats and the Argos. I think even Calgary. I think you'd look at them and be like, yeah, I'm probably taking them over the Ticats and the Argos, especially the Ticats without their quarterback. I mean, Ticats with their quarterback, I think, is a different story, and that's interesting thing about the Ticats too. Sorry to kind of get out of the way here, but
yeah, go.
Okay, so I'm on the sidelines last week, and I'm dapping up Bo Levi Mitchell. And Bo Levi Mitchell is on the sidelines in Hamilton. And then the next day, I see his post on Instagram. He's taking the boot off. He's putting full weight on the ankle and walking around. Chris Strevler, can you tell me, does that not seem like a guy who thinks there's a chance that he's going to play football again this year? Like, would he not? I don't have any inside info. I don't know anything. Would he not be home if he didn't think there was a chance that he was going to play football again this year?
Yeah, I think if I know Bo, I think and look, you have to have some motivation going through a rehab like that. Like, that's your motivation is, can I actually come back from this and play? And you don't become one of the best quarterbacks in the CFL of all time without having that competitive mindset. So if I know Bo, if I could put myself in his shoes, that's his motivation right now. Can we put ourselves in a position to get second in the East and I can come back for a home playoff game and then go play in the East final, run it back against Montreal? I got to imagine that's in the back of his mind.
That's,
you know what I mean? Like,
bumps thinking about it.
I'm getting fired up right now. Like, I'm about ready to jump out the chair. I would love to see that, man. So I wouldn't count him out. He's a legend and he's got the mindset to come back from it. Like, I don't know. And look, mobility is not his game anyways. He's going to stand in the pocket and throw the football. So I would love to see that. It would make for a crazy stretch down the end of the season here, man. It'd be pretty crazy to see it if he actually pulled it off.
That's why it's like Ticats. MO just has to be win. Just if you can keep stacking up these greasy wins, which is like they got a greasy win against Sask, they got a greasy win against the Argos, like just keep stacking those up and who knows what can happen at the end of the year.
So how do they go get it done against Toronto this weekend? Do they go with Trey Ford? Do they roll with Harrison Frost? Do they go 2-quarterback system? I mean, how do they go get it done? Because this feels like a big one.
This is a huge one, and I think I would go 2-quarterback system. If you're not going 2-quarterback system, I still would play Harrison Frost. Like, I think that surprise Trey Ford is maybe the greatest quarterback of all time. Like,
I saw you put that out.
yeah. He's like Michael Vick. Like, if you don't know Trey Ford's coming, you are in for some major trouble. If you do know that Trey Ford's coming and you had a week to game plan against him and you can set up these things to kind of bracket him and hold off on the run, I think it gets a little bit more tough for him. So I would play Harrison Frost and see if we can sneak Trey Ford in there in some ways. Here's the thing. The Argos are very similar to Calgary, which is what you were talking about before, where it's like you can look on this team and you can see a lot of talent, but they are just not putting it together. They are having way too many turnovers. They feel like they don't feel like a team. They don't feel like there's that camaraderie and there's like that bond there. So I think like a defense that struggled with turnovers, you're going to play the Ticats. I think the Ticats have the best defense in the CFL right now. I think Wynn McManus is such a game changer. I think Stavros is one of the smartest guys in the league in the way he studies. He always makes a big play off that. Then Jamal Peters and Destin Talbert and Julian Hauser. So I think forcing turnovers, getting another greasy win, playing good defense against what do you think about the Argos?
I think it's the exact same thing you're saying is like, you know, you've got Chad Kelly just going full Jameis Winston at times where he's throwing for 4 touchdowns but 4 picks. He's going to go for 300 yards every game. That's just the way their offense goes, and he throws the ball down the field, but it's just got to be cleaner. It's got to be smarter. They also have not really had a run game all year, which doesn't really help when you're in that situation when your quarterback's turning the ball over. I think if you look at their receiving core, I think they're right up there with Hamilton with one of the best in the league. Like Toronto has dogs top to bottom. So I think Coxie's crazy, man. And it's all those guys, man. Polk, they got Mittal, they got who's the other guy? The rookie guy, white dude. I can't.
Tyler Common,
yeah, he had a great start to the season too. So they've got some dogs, man, and I think they just
Chad
have to
Kelly,
play cleaner.
He's so good. He's just not doing the little things that, like, you know what I mean? It's like, is he more talented than Trevor Harris? Like, probably like 100% few times dude. Over, right?
Yeah.
And it's like if he was able to take these winning plays and like be able to surrender every once in a while and like hit an easy one, but he just gets so hyper focused on like every single throw I'm going to make is going to be the greatest throw in team history. I just don't think he's playing team football.
Well, and the thing, it's a positive and a negative with Chad Kelly is that dude doesn't lose confidence, right? Like he'll go throw 3 bad picks and it's like he is still slinging the football around.
Yeah.
But also like he'll make unbelievable plays because he has the ultimate confidence. So, you know, it's kind of a blessing and a curse there with Toronto. I want to look over at the last game. I mean, Ottawa at Montreal. We don't even really have to talk about that one.
You got Ottawa on this one, right?
Yeah, right. But I want to look at Winnipeg versus Edmonton because I'm also intrigued by that game. You know, Winnipeg has not played their best football this year. I think looking at that team on paper, they're much better on paper than they've been in real life. But Edmonton goes out and does what they do to Toronto last week. I think Edmonton's showing everybody that they're for real, and they win the games that they're supposed to win, which is, to me, the biggest marker for a good team is, okay, you're supposed to go beat Toronto at home, and you dog them like 42-14, whatever the final score was there. I mean, I'm just... What do you think about Edmonton, and how do you think that, like, does Winnipeg have a chance going into Edmonton to go get it done?
Winnipeg always has a chance. You know, I think you know that, like, when you have the guys that they have in charge and you got Brady Oliveira and Nick Dembski and Willie Jefferson, they always have a chance. I don't think they're going to win. I think Edmonton's a better team on basically every single level. Like you talk about, you know, I've heard you talk about on the podcast a lot, like, you know, Winnipeg used to have the FIFO, and it's like Edmonton is that team right now, right? Like they're bought in.
True.
They love each other. They're acting as a cohesive unit. Mark Killam is doing like an incredible job there. And I think, like, you know what they're going to get from their offense? Like, the idea of Cody Fajardo being a game manager or a mid-tier quarterback, that's done.
Crazy.
Nobody is entertaining that anymore. He's obviously an elite quarterback in the CFL. And then their defense is the perfect CFL defense because everybody in the CFL, you can score points in the CFL. Doesn't matter. Like, teams are going to score 30 points on good defenses, but their defense is so opportunistic that they create huge turnovers. And that's what I think really wins you games in the CFL is winning that turnover battle and getting explosives off big plays like that. Like, what do you think is Winnipeg's path to win?
They got to get Brady going and keep him going. And like that's been the key to their success all year is if you establish the run, that opens up everything else with this offense, with the play action game, with the RPO. Like nobody loves the RPO game more than Zach getting out of the pocket and just being like, go deep. Like, I want to chuck it deep. Like, he loves that. But to really establish that, you got to get Brady going. And I think he's the best player on their team right now. And all the games that they've had success, they've got him going. They've kept him rolling. I think if they want to have a chance to go and beat Edmonton, they're going to have to do that and then take care of the ball. Like, you can't give Edmonton extra possessions because their defense takes the ball away and their offense takes advantage. They're going to be able to run the ball with Rankin. Like, that's the other thing with Winnipeg is they've stunk against the run this year. So they got to be able to stop Rankin on the ground, because I think that's been every team's MO since Rankin got out to the start that he did, was like, all right, we got to at least stop him, because if we let him get going, we have no chance of winning.
100%. But the thing is, like, even if you do stop them, like, we've seen them stopped a couple of times, it's like they still like throw it all over you, and they still, it's kind of like, I don't know what to do against them.
Well, that's the thing with Edmonton that makes me believe is they have found every different way to go win a football game. Like, it's not like you just have one guy that you're riding that's making it happen. They've had games where their offense stinks. Think back to when they beat BC. Their defense picks the ball off 4 times. They've also had the game at Sask where their defense has given up points, but Fajardo goes for 500 yards. You had the games where Rankin's gone crazy. So to me, that is the complete team, is when one side of our team isn't playing their best, this other side of the team can pick guys up. And I think that's where that FIFO culture that you're talking about comes in, and you're seeing those guys really rally around each other and be able to pick guys up.
And then you just like have at the end of the game, it's like Cody Fajardo in some like interview being like, nobody believes in us, but we're the best team in the world. I don't care what anybody has to say. It's like they walk in with that chip on their shoulder every single game. So that is like, it's just a really great recipe for success.
It's a mindset, man. It's fun watching those guys play. You can tell they're rallying around Cody and having a lot of fun. Look, I feel like we could do this all day. We could probably just talk ball all day, but I want to wrap it up, and I want to wrap it up asking you one question. It's a similar question that I ask all the guys on my podcast. I always ask them, hey, at the end of your career, at the end of your journey, what do you want your football legacy to be? And so for you, getting involved with the CFL, you're obviously in sports content. Like, what's your goal with this? Where do you want to end up one day in the sports world if you could have it your way?
If I could have it my way, that's a great question. I mean, I would love to, if I became the CFL guy, and it's like, I don't really know what the ceiling on that is, or I don't know if there's money in that or not. But if I could be the CFL guy, and like, I'm married and my wife and I are hoping to start a family soon, and you know what I mean, provide like a great life for my family and have security in that way, that would be my dream, to be able to do that. And really doing that in any way. But ultimately, like, I'm so passionate about sports and about, I just have so much love for the game, and I have so much love for the CFL, and I want to spread that love, like I talk to my dad every day, and it's because we both love football so much, and I know how special it is, and I know how life can be tough for a lot of people. And we get this break, and we get this opportunity to be away from everything by watching the game that we love. So if I can spread that love and like give people some reprieve and you know what I mean, take their mind off of all the tough stuff that we all go throughout in life, like, that's really what I want to do.
That's awesome, man. Honestly, just getting to chat with you today and getting to know a little bit more about your background, just know that you have my full support. Whatever we can do to collaborate, we're both pulling in the same direction, trying to bring positivity to the league.